Something about this trailer just feels different. Not louder, not bigger, but heavier. Like every decision these characters made before is finally coming back to haunt them, and this time, there's no escaping it. The official trailer for the Gilded Age Season 4 doesn't waste a single second. Right from the start, you can feel that shift in tone. It's not just about power and ambition anymore, it's about consequences. Real, emotional, and sometimes brutal consequences. And honestly, that's what makes this season look so much more intense than anything we've seen before. The trailer opens with a sense of quiet tension, almost like the calm before a storm, but you just know that storm is about to tear everything apart. And at the center of it all, of course, is Bertha Russell. But this time, she doesn't look as confident as she usually does. There's something different in her eyes, something uncertain, maybe even fearful. After everything she did to climb to the top of society, it feels like she's finally realizing that power always comes with a price. And now, that price is knocking at her door. George Russell's situation looks even more complicated in the trailer. There are small but powerful hints that his relationship with Bertha hasn't recovered the way she might have hoped. In fact, it almost feels like there's a growing distance between them, like two people who once stood side by side are now slowly drifting apart. And you can feel that emotional weight without even needing words. It's in the way they look at each other, or sometimes, the way they avoid looking at each other. That kind of tension is exactly what makes this storyline so gripping, because it's not just about love anymore. It's about trust, betrayal, and everything in between. At the same time, the trailer gives us a deeper look into how society itself is changing. The world around these characters isn't the same as it used to be, and not everyone is ready for that change. There are moments that suggest old traditions are being challenged, and not in a quiet way. It feels more like a battle between the old guard and the new, between those who want to hold on to power and those who are ready to take it. And right in the middle of that conflict, we see familiar faces trying to find their place in a world that refuses to stay the same. Marian's journey also stands out in the trailer, and honestly, it might be one of the most emotional parts of the season. There's a clear sense that she's no longer the same person she used to be. She's stronger, more independent, and maybe even a little more fearless. But with that growth comes difficult choices. The trailer hints that her relationship with Larry is going to be tested once again, and not in a small way. It feels like they're standing at a crossroads, where one wrong step could change everything. And that kind of uncertainty makes their story even more compelling, because you don't know if love will be enough this time. And then there's Peggy, whose storyline seems to carry a different kind of weight. The trailer suggests that her struggles are far from over, especially when it comes to being accepted into a world that still refuses to fully embrace her. But what makes her story so powerful is her determination. No matter how many obstacles are thrown her way, she doesn't back down. And in this season, it feels like that strength is going to be tested more than ever before. There are glimpses of conflict, moments of doubt, but also a sense that Peggy is ready to fight for her place, no matter the cost. What really stands out about this trailer is how everything feels connected. Every storyline, every character, every decision, it all seems to lead towards something bigger. Something unavoidable. There's this underlying tension that keeps building with every second, like the show is slowly setting the stage for something huge. And even though we don't know exactly how it's all going to unfold, one thing is clear: Season 4 isn't holding back. It's diving deeper into emotions, into conflicts, and into the consequences that these characters can no longer ignore. And honestly, if this trailer is anything to go by, we're in for a season that's not just dramatic, but unforgettable. If you thought things were already complicated, the trailer makes it very clear: this is just the beginning of the chaos. Because as the story moves forward, every relationship we thought was stable suddenly feels like it's standing on very thin ice. Let's start with Larry and Marian, because their storyline in the trailer feels both hopeful and heartbreaking at the same time. There are moments that suggest they're trying to move forward, trying to leave all the past misunderstandings behind, but at the same time, something feels off. You know that feeling when everything looks fine on the surface, but deep down you can sense that something isn't right? That's exactly the vibe their scenes give. It's like they both want the same future, but the world around them, and maybe even their own fears, keep pulling them in different directions. And honestly, that kind of tension is what makes their relationship so real and so frustrating at the same time. Because you want them to work, you really do, but the trailer keeps hinting that it won't be that simple. Now, at the same time, the trailer leans heavily into the idea that this season might actually revolve around marriages, but not in the way you'd expect. Instead of being purely joyful, these unions feel more like turning points, moments that could either bring happiness or completely destroy everything. We see glimpses of celebrations, elegant gatherings, and all the beauty you'd expect from this world, but there's always something lurking underneath. A look, a pause, a moment of hesitation, it all suggests that not every happy ending is truly happy. And that's what makes this so interesting, because the show is clearly moving away from fairy tale outcomes and stepping into something much more realistic and unpredictable. Peggy's journey continues to stand out in a very powerful way. The trailer gives us small but meaningful hints that her relationship is going to face serious challenges, especially when it comes to acceptance and respect. There's this constant feeling that no matter how much she proves herself, there are still people who refuse to see her worth. And that frustration is something you can almost feel through the screen. But at the same time, there's also strength in her story. She's not backing down, she's not changing who she is, and that's what makes her one of the most inspiring characters to watch. However, the trailer also suggests that standing your ground might come with consequences, and it raises the question, how much is she willing to sacrifice to be accepted? Then we have Oscar's storyline, which honestly might take a very surprising turn this season. After everything he's been through, you'd expect him to take a step back, maybe even avoid getting involved in anything too risky. But the trailer hints at the exact opposite. It feels like he's stepping into something new, something that could either rebuild his life or completely break him again. There's a sense of mystery around his character this time, like we're only seeing a small piece of a much bigger puzzle. And if there's one thing this show does well, it's turning those quiet storylines into something unexpectedly powerful. And we can't ignore the rising tension within society itself. The trailer makes it very clear that the battle between old money and new money is far from over. In fact, it might be getting even more intense. There are subtle moments that show people holding onto their status, refusing to let go of traditions, while others are pushing forward, ready to redefine what power really looks like. And right in the middle of all this, characters are forced to choose sides. That's where things get really interesting, because those choices don't just affect their social standing, they affect their relationships, their futures, and even their identities. What makes this part of the trailer so gripping is how everything feels like it's building towards something bigger. Not just one big moment, but multiple turning points that could change everything for everyone. There's this constant sense of pressure, like the walls are slowly closing in and no one can escape what's coming next. And the more you watch, the more you realize, this season isn't just about who rises to the top. It's about who survives when everything starts to fall apart. And just when you think you've figured out where the story is going, the trailer hits you with even more uncertainty. Because in this season, it's not just about ambition or love anymore. It's about survival in a world where everything can change in a single moment. One of the most interesting things the trailer hints at is how even the strongest characters are starting to lose control. Bertha, for example, may still be fighting to protect everything she's built, but it's clear that the pressure is getting to her. There are moments where she looks like she's holding everything together, and then in the very next second, you can almost see the cracks forming. And that's what makes her storyline so intense this time, because for once, it feels like she might not win. After always being 10 steps ahead, she's now in a position where she has to react instead of control, and that shift could change everything for her. George, on the other hand, seems to be dealing with his own battles, and they don't look any easier. The trailer gives off the feeling that he's being pulled in multiple directions, trying to balance his personal life with everything else that's falling apart around him. And the more he tries to fix things, the more complicated they seem to become. There's a quiet intensity to his character this season, like he's carrying a weight that no one else can fully understand. And if that pressure keeps building, it could lead to decisions that no one is ready for. At the same time, the emotional side of the story feels stronger than ever. Relationships that once felt secure are now being tested in ways we haven't seen before. Trust is becoming fragile, and even the smallest misunderstandings have the potential to turn into something much bigger. The trailer does a great job of showing how quickly things can fall apart, especially when emotions are running high. And that unpredictability is what keeps you hooked, because you never really know what's going to happen next. There's also a growing sense that some characters are finally stepping out of the shadows and taking control of their own stories. Whether it's Marian choosing her own path, Peggy standing her ground, or even side characters finding their voice, it feels like this season is giving everyone a moment to shine. But with that spotlight comes risk. Because the more you step forward, the more you expose yourself to everything that could go wrong. And in a world like this, that's a dangerous place to be. Another thing the trailer makes very clear is that not every story will have a happy ending. There's a certain heaviness to the way everything is presented, like the show is preparing us for losses as much as victories. Some dreams might come true, but others could be completely shattered. And that balance between hope and heartbreak is what gives the story so much depth. It's not just about watching things unfold, it's about feeling every moment of it. By the time the trailer comes to an end, one thing is absolutely certain: Season 4 is going to be bigger, deeper, and far more emotional than anything we've seen before. Every character is standing at a turning point, every decision feels important, and every moment carries weight. And even though we don't have all the answers yet, that's exactly what makes it so exciting. Because at the end of the day, The Gilded Age isn't just telling a story about wealth and power, it's telling a story about people. About their choices, their struggles, and the consequences they can't avoid. And if this trailer is anything to go by, we're about to witness a season where everything changes, and nothing will ever be the same again. Right now, everything is pointing toward one simple truth: Season 4 of The Gilded Age isn't just continuing the story, it's about to redefine it completely. And if you really pay attention to the trailer, you'll notice something even more interesting. This season feels bigger, not just in drama, but in scale, emotion, and impact. Because this time, it's not just about individual struggles anymore. It feels like the entire world of the show is shifting. The old rules of society, the power structures, the expectations, everything is starting to crack. And when that happens, it creates chaos. The kind of chaos where new players rise, old alliances break, and people are forced to make choices they never thought they would have to make. The trailer hints at this in such a subtle but powerful way. There are moments where everything looks calm and elegant on the surface, but underneath, you can feel the tension building. It's like a storm that hasn't fully arrived yet, but you know it's coming. Another thing that really stands out is how unpredictable everything feels. In previous seasons, you could kind of guess where certain storylines were heading. But this time, it's different. The trailer is deliberately keeping things unclear. It shows reactions without context, emotions without explanations, and moments that feel important but leave you with more questions than answers. And honestly, that's what makes it so addictive. Because now, you're not just watching for entertainment, you're watching to find out the truth behind everything. And let's be real for a second, this kind of storytelling only works when the show is confident in what it's doing. And clearly, The Gilded Age has reached that level. It knows its characters, it knows its audience, and it knows exactly how to keep us hooked. Every season has built on the last one, but Season 4 feels like the payoff. The moment where all the setup finally starts to mean something bigger. At the same time, there's also a sense that this season could open the door for even more stories in the future. The way things are expanding, the way new dynamics are being introduced, it doesn't feel like the end. It feels like a new beginning. But before we even get there, we have to go through everything that Season 4 is about to throw at us. And based on what we've seen so far, that journey is not going to be easy. So if you thought you were ready after Season 3, think again. Because the official trailer has made one thing very clear: nothing is safe anymore. And once Season 4 begins, every decision, every relationship, and every secret will matter more than ever before. Now it's your turn. Are you excited for the Gilded Age Season 4? And more importantly, who do you think is going to lose everything when the storm finally hits? And after everything we've just broken down, one thing becomes impossible to ignore. The official trailer for the Gilded Age Season 4 isn't just teasing drama, it's warning us. Warning us that this time, the story is going to hit harder, go deeper, and possibly change everything we thought we understood about these characters. Because when you step back and look at the bigger picture, it's clear that every single storyline is reaching a breaking point. The Russells are dealing with cracks in their power and family. Marian is stepping into a future that might not be as perfect as it seems. Peggy is fighting for acceptance in a world that keeps pushing her away, and others are quietly building their own paths. Some honest, some dangerous. And the trailer connects all of these threads in a way that feels very intentional. It's like everything is slowly being pulled together for one massive turning point. What makes this even more intense is the emotional weight behind it. This isn't just about shocking twists or unexpected moments. It's about consequences. Real consequences. The kind that stay with the characters and change them. You can feel that shift in the trailer, the expressions, the silence, the tension. It all points toward a season where actions finally catch up with everyone. And when that happens, not everyone comes out the same. At the same time, there's still that signature elegance and beauty that makes the Gilded Age so captivating. The world still looks stunning, the atmosphere still pulls you in, and the storytelling still feels rich and layered. But now, there's something darker underneath it all. Something that makes every moment feel more important, more fragile. Like at any second, everything could fall apart. And honestly, that's what makes this season feel so special. It's not just building on what came before, it's elevating it. It's taking everything we loved about the show and pushing it further. The drama is sharper, the relationships are more complicated, and the stakes are higher than ever. This is the kind of season that people will be talking about long after it ends. So as we wait for the release, all we can really do is go back to that trailer, watch it again, pick up on the small details, and try to figure out what it's really telling us. Because if there's one thing this show does perfectly, it's hiding big twists in plain sight. And chances are, we've already seen clues. We just don't fully understand them yet. One thing's for sure though, when the Gilded Age Season 4 finally arrives, it's not going to hold back. It's going to challenge these characters, test their limits, and force them to face truths they've been avoiding for far too long. And when that moment comes, we won't just be watching the story unfold, we'll be witnessing the moment everything changes.